Ayaka and Yuto's hopeful new life is gradually drawn into the darkness of fear. The unimaginable madness lurking behind their neighbor is revealed. Neighbor madness. One fine day, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, Ayaka Morita and her husband, Yuto, were given the house of their dreams. When they arrived at their new home, they were all smiles of hope. Yuto called out to Ayaka as he carried his luggage. "We finally got our house." Ayaka nodded happily and replied, "It really does feel like a dream. I wonder what wonderful memories we will make from now on." But they didn't know yet that this house would change their lives forever. That afternoon, a middle-aged man came out of the house on their right. "Welcome, Morita. This is Kawamura, the chairman of the Neighborhood Association. Please contact me if you need anything." Ayaka looked relieved. "Thank you. I look forward to working with you." But this feeling of relief did not last long. An old woman of about 75 years appeared from the house next door to their left. Ayaka greeted her with a smile. "Hello, I'm Morita." The old woman looked at Ayaka and her family without changing her expression. Ayaka was confused, but called out again. What's your name?" The old woman didn't answer, but slowly turned around and went back to her house. Chairman Kawamura explained in a quiet voice. "This woman's name is Tami Sano, and she's a bit strange. But don't worry." That night, Ayaka confessed her worries to Yuto. "That old lady is a bit scary." Yuto replied as he gently held Ayaka's shoulders. "Don't worry. She's probably just shy." But the fear that had begun to grow in Ayaka's heart did not disappear so easily. Looking out the window, she saw a faint light coming from Tami's window. The light made Ayaka uneasy. A week had passed since she had moved in, and Ayaka had begun her usual morning routine. When she opened the curtains as usual, a shocking sight jumped out at her. "Yuto, come quickly!" Ayaka's voice was shaking. Speechless, Yuto ran over. Pieces of paper littered the garden. "How did this happen?" Ayaka muttered. Yuto frowned. "Maybe someone's prank. Let's clean it up." But that was only the beginning. The next day, the garden was littered with food. Waste and a foul stench hung in the air. And on the third day, Ayaka let out a terrible cry. The body of a small cat was lying in the garden. It looked unnatural, as if it had been placed there on purpose. Unable to bear it any longer, Ayaka decided to consult with Chairman Kawamura. "Chairman, what should we do? Every day, something terrible happens." Chairman Kawamura frowned and sighed. Actually, something similar happened before. That old woman. Maybe it was Sano Tami. Ayaka was surprised. "Tami? But why?" "Tami has some problems. She lives alone and doesn't want to socialize with anyone. This happens every time a new inhabitant arrives." Ayaka was worried when Kawamura said this. From that day on, Kawamura began to visit the Morita house frequently. "Is something bothering you? Have you heard strange noises at night?" His questions became more and more detailed, and Ayaka began to feel uneasy. One night, Ayaka looked out of the window. Then she saw a figure in Tami's window. It wasn't Tami. Someone had broken into her house. Ayaka woke up Yuto. "Someone's in Tami's house," Yuto said, and rubbed his sleepy eyes. "Let's call the police." But before he could make the call, he heard a knock at the door. Ayaka timidly opened the door and found Kawamura standing there. When Ayaka asked, "What's wrong?" the chairman smiled unnaturally. "No, sorry to bother you so late at night. I just wanted to check on you." Ayaka felt a shiver run down her spine. Why was the chairman here at this time? And who was at Taimi's house? One night, Chairman Kawamura came to Ayaka's house. Standing next to the chairman was a boy with no expression. "Morita-san, I want to ask you a favor," Chairman Kawamura said with a desperate voice. "Could you please take care of my son Ichiro tonight?" Ayaka couldn't hide her surprise. But actually, I have an urgent matter to attend to," the chairman continued. "Ichiro has a developmental disorder, so it's difficult to leave him with someone else." Ayaka hesitated, but the rumor that the chairman's wife had disappeared a few years ago came to mind, and she had no choice but to agree with the chairman's desperate situation. "Okay, I'll take care of him." Ichiro entered the house without saying anything. Ayaka called out softly, "Ichiro, are you hungry? Do you want something?" But Ichiro didn't answer. His eyes were empty, as if his soul had left him. As the night wore on, Ayaka began to feel uneasy about Ichiro's behavior. He stood in the corner of the room, staring at the wall. He seemed to mumble something from time to time, but Ayaka couldn't hear him. In the middle of the night, Ayaka got up to go to the bathroom. As she walked down the hall, she saw Ichiro. He was standing in the kitchen, holding something in his hand. "Ichiro?" Ayaka called out, and Ichiro slowly turned around. In the moonlight, he was holding a large knife. Ayaka gasped, "Ichiro, put down the knife." Ichiro approached Ayaka step by step without changing his expression. Ayaka continued to speak frantically as she backed away. "Ichiro, please. Don't scare me." Suddenly, Ichiro cried out, "I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Father." His voice was frightened. Ayaka was confused. "What are you saying?" Ichiro dropped the knife and fell to the ground. He started to cry. Then he said in a weak voice, "Help me." Ayaka realized something from those heartbreaking words. Ichiro might have been abused by his father, the chairman. But the reality was far beyond Ayaka's imagination. Chairman Kawamura's true face and the horror Ichiro had experienced. This was only a small part of the darkness that lurked in this residential area. Ayaka hugged Ichiro. "It's okay. I'll help you." But a new fear grew in Ayaka's heart. Who in the world is Chairman Kawamura? And what is his relationship to Taimi? Ayaka began to realize that they were involved in a great conspiracy. The next morning, Chairman Kawamura came to collect Ichiro. Ayaka pretended to be calm, but inside she was upset. "Sorry for the trouble," the chairman said with a smile. Ayaka replied with a smile, "No, it's no problem." But as she watched the chairman take Ichiro away, Ayaka made a decision. She had to solve this mystery and save Ichiro. Chairman Kawamura's behavior escalated from day to day. He visited the Morita house almost every day and started talking to Ayaka about trivial things. "Morita-san, it's a beautiful day today." "Morita-san, did you take out the rubbish on the wrong day?" "Morita-san, did you hear any strange noises in the middle of the night?" Ayaka began to feel short of breath. One day, she confided her concerns to Yuto. Yuto-san, the chairman, is acting strangely. I'm getting scared. Yuto replied, putting his arm around Ayaka's shoulder. I think so too. Let's be careful. That night, Ayaka looked out of the window. Then she saw a figure in Taimi's window. Ayaka was surprised. Taimi was looking at Kawamura's house, not hers. Yuto, look! Taimi's looking at Kawamura's house. Yuto came to the window too. Yes, it looks like she's looking. The next day, Ayaka plucked up courage and went to Taimi's house. But there was no answer when she knocked. When Ayaka put her hand on the doorknob, to her surprise, the door was open. Taimi? Ayaka timidly entered the house. The house was dimly lit, and old furniture was lined up. As she entered the living room, Ayaka's eyes were caught by the photos plastered all over the wall. There were countless photos of Chairman Kawamura on the wall, marked with red T's. This is... Ayaka muttered. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her. You noticed too. Ayaka turned around in surprise. It was Taimi. Taimi, this is? Taimi started to speak in a low voice. This man is the devil. Taimi closed her eyes as if remembering the past. 5 years ago, my dog broke into Kawamura's yard. He was very angry. Taimi's voice trembled. And he killed the dog in front of me. Ayaka was at a loss for words. Taimi continued. I have been watching him ever since. To expose his misdeeds. Ayaka couldn't help but ask. Misdeeds? Taimi stared at Ayaka. This man has hurt so many people. People who lived before you. Ayaka felt a chill run down her spine. Did something happen to the people who lived before us? Taimi nodded. Suddenly, they disappeared. And Kawamura acted as if nothing had happened. Ayaka suddenly realized they were in a dangerous situation. What should we do? Taimi asked with a serious look on her face. I'll call the police, but I need proof. Just then, the sound of a car was heard from outside. They looked out the window and saw Chairman Kawamura returning home. He's back, Taimi murmured. Go home quickly. But be careful. Don't let him notice. Ayaka left Taimi's house quickly. On her way back to her own house, she met Kawamura, the chairman. Hello, Mortison. What's wrong? The chairman had an unnatural smile on his face. Ayaka replied calmly. Yes, just for a moment. As the chairman's gaze fell on Ayaka, she hurried back into the house. The moment she closed the door, she felt all her strength leave her body. Yuto, Ayaka called to her husband with a shaking voice. Something serious is happening. Ayaka told Yuto everything she had heard in Taimi's house. Yuto listened with a serious expression on his face. We must do something, Yuto said with determination. But be careful. He could be a dangerous person. That night, Ayaka and Yuto could not sleep. Outside the window, the lights in Kawamura's house were still on. And from Taimi's window, there was a faint light. The quiet night dawned, and a new morning came. Ayaka and Yuto hadn't slept all night. They decided to go to Taimi's house. Taimi looked at them and nodded gently. Are you ready? Ayaka took a deep breath and replied, Yes, I'm ready. The three of them cautiously approached Kawamura's house. Suddenly, a scream could be heard from inside the house. Help, someone! It was Ichiro's voice. Ayaka and the others ran into the house without hesitation. There they saw Kawamura beating Ichiro. "Stop!" Ayaka shouted. Kawamura turned around and looked at the three of them with crazy eyes. "You guys! Damn it! You've ruined everything!" Tammy stepped forward. "It's over, Kawamura." "Give up?" Kawamura burst out laughing. "The end? No, it's just the beginning. I'm going to kill you all and start a new life." He pushed Ichiro away and picked up the knife. "Who shall I start with?" Just then the police siren sounded. Tammy had called the police. "Damn it!" Kawamura looked panicked. Before the police arrived, Kawamura tried to run away. But Yuto jumped on him and held him down. The knife hit his arm and blood oozed out. "Let go! This is none of your business," Kawamura shouted. But Yuto replied calmly, "No, it's our responsibility to stop your crimes." The police came and Kawamura was arrested. Yuto was so absorbed in his action that he didn't notice the wounds on his arm when he held Kawamura down. During the subsequent interrogation, Kawamura's terrible past was revealed. He had committed numerous crimes over the years. He threatened residents, made them do what he wanted, stole their money and valuables, and killed all the dogs and cats in the neighborhood because they were noisy and pooped. When they dug up the chairman's garden, they found many small animal bones and even human bones. They were the bones of his wife, who was said to be missing. From childhood, Ichiro watched his mother being abused by his father. He may even have witnessed the moment his mother's life was taken. Even after his mother's death, Ichiro himself continued to be abused. Ichiro was treated in a psychiatric hospital, but it seemed he would take a long time to recover. Ayaka and the others promised to help Ichiro. Several months had passed since the incident, and Ayaka was still suffering from the trauma. When she woke up in the middle of the night, she remembered Kawamura's crazy eyes. Thank you for watching.